It's Sierra. And so today's discussion will be about this motherfucking this bullcrap of a plan Donald Trump calls himself having that involves executive orders and ending motherfucking birthright citizenship. Okay. So before I get into all of that, let me tell you something. Let me tell you something, okay? One, I'm not a fan of Trump. I'm not gonna sit here in front like I am. I'm not his fan. I don't like the guy. You know what I'm saying? Like, honestly, I think he sucks. And I don't think he sucks because of like, we share different views. Because I understand that people, their ideas are going to go in different directions. Everybody's not, everybody is not the same. Everybody's the same, but everybody's not. You know what I'm saying? We're all humans, we all share about, what is it, like 99% of the same DNA as humans, but there's idiosyncrasies about us that makes us different, that makes us stand out as individuals from others. And what makes him stand out from the other individuals is the fact that he fits into the category of people that I don't like, and that's the category of the government trying to pretty much get so involved in our lives that they start doing dumb stuff. They start violating people's rights, or they start making discussions or planning out things that sound like it's violating our rights. So boom, we put it out there. I don't like Trump. I feel like he's just like every other politician that we had in the past, especially white, because we only had one non-white one or one non-fool white one. But it reminds me of back in the days where, not even back in the days, I mean, because the back of the days is pretty much modern times. Everything is same. The tactic is just a tad bit different. But let me put it this way. Okay, so back in the days, 19, it doesn't even matter how far you go. You can go back as far as 1990, or you can go as far back as 1960s, or you could go back as far as the 1900s or further. You could go to the 18 further. It's the same thing. You'll see ridiculous policies coming into place that is supposed to be used in a sense of oppressing people, uplifting one and then lowering the other. Now, in this aspect, this is where things starts to get a little different for me, a little messy. So ideally, oppressive tactics and stuff like that is associated with powerful white people. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, there's one step, in my opinion, there's one step that goes past racism. Like like how you feel like racism is the top, like it's like, like out of discrimination is like racism, but it's like there's another where it is the battle of motherfucking classes. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like that has always been the root. The beginning of our issues, the beginning of oppression started out with money. The greed of money. So you have these individuals who their main goals is to get as rich as they possibly can. So they continue to make, policies, put policies in place. They oppress people and everything to get money. That's the whole purpose of slavery. That's the whole purpose of racist, ideas. Racist ideas isn't what, it didn't just come out of nowhere. This was developed through this greed for money. Slavery came into place because they figured, we don't want to do the work ourselves. We want to get somebody else to do it. But we don't want to pay that much, so we're going to get this person to do it. But then this person has been costing us money because this group of people have been dying off, or this group of people, don't get as much product, situated as we would like. So let's move on from one to the next. So, and that's when the hopping around began to take place, where you have some Caucasian people enslaved, you have some Native Americans enslaved. Of course, every race has been enslaved, but no race has been enslaved for hundreds and hundreds of years. No race has been enslaved as long as black people. And it's because of how beneficial slavery was to fattening pockets. It wasn't necessarily because you're black, or because, it wasn't because of this or that. They made up these ideas to justify your oppression. You know what I'm saying? My ancestors' oppression. And it's the same thing that's going on now. They come up with all these justifications as a way to make money. As you see, the whites, the Caucasians that were enslaved, they were replaced. The Native Americans were replaced. The Hispanics were replaced. All replaced with black people. And then you got those that were replaced for whatever works, whether it was slave work, whether it was industrial work, putting black people into, industrial, organizations, jobs, manufacturers, stuff like that. You put one person in, now you got a bunch of people getting pissy, thinking that they're losing out on stuff. Stuff is is being taken away because somebody else was given an opportunity, and they're not looking at the fact that it's not the person who's working that put themselves in this predicament. It's the people who put them there. It's the people who brought them there. So, during the farming times, industrial times, jobs were given to black people, and you had, poor white, working class white people getting upset because they were losing jobs to black people. And then all this, that's when all the racism started, it just started popping up out of nowhere, because they used it as a tactic to justify, their crooked behaviors. And then on top of the fact that people is reverting to these racist ideas because they're upset that they feel like they lost something to a group of people. And when you look at it modern times, nowadays, it's the same process. You got Donald Trump threatening to utilize executive orders to undo, birthright citizenship. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't know not one mother freaking amendment that has mother freaking the opportunities for you to mother freaking violate people's rights. You know what I'm saying? Unless, there was some type of loophole. And what I mean by that is, say for instance, the Fourth Amendment is the search and seizure amendment, where you are, pretty much, you have the right of your persons, the right of privacy. You can, that they can't just search you any old kind of way. They can't just run up in your place, without a warrant or whatever. They can't do any of those things without these exceptions that were put into place through the courts, different court cases, Supreme Court cases, landmark cases, making things happening. Without that, there's no way to impenetrate an amendment. You know what I'm saying? Like, for instance, with the Fourth Amendment, search and seizure, one exception is like plain view. You know what I'm saying? Plain view is an exception. A police officer, if they say, for instance, you're in your vehicle or your house, and you're in a place where marijuana is illegal, and you got your windows open, you smoking, you blowing one back, and the cop just so happened to walk by, he patrolling or she patrolling, and they catch a whiff of your marijuana, and they follow the smell of everything, and it leads them back to your car or your house. Because you're violating a law, and the police done got a hold of you violating this law using plain view, which is sense of smell, You know, now they have the legal permissions to enter, you know, into your house or your car, you know, stuff like that. But see, when it comes to the 14th Amendment, when it comes to birthright citizenship, there's no loopholes, you know what I'm saying? There's no exceptions. You know what I'm saying? 14th Amendment was put into place for black people. It was to say that, okay, you may not have originally started off here, but you have citizenship because you were born here. You know what I'm saying? You had slaves come over here, brought into slavery, you know, they're bred, whether it's natural, you know, people just having babies because they want to have babies, or people having babies to create more slaves so they can have, you know, more property, so they can get more work done. And so that the 14th Amendment was put into place to pretty much say, like, hey, you can't prevent this person from having, you know, the rights as an American citizen, because this amendment right here states that they have citizenship based on their birthright. So please tell me, Mr. Donald Trump, how do you expect to undo birthright citizenship without mother freaking deporting every single life that resides in the United States of America? Please tell me that. Because if you were to undo that, and the next thing you know, you're trying to ship out mother freaking Muslims and Mexicans and you know, all these different, you trying to ship out all these people because you're like, oh, you know, I undid their birthright. Their, you know, mother people's trying to have babies here to get stuck here. So you know what? We're going to undo their birthright and send them back. You do know that that opens the door for you to send everybody else back too, including yourself, Mr. Donald Trump. Because last time I checked, the United States of America is not native land to white people. It's not. It's native land. It's land to Native Mexicans and Native Americans. Not white people. Not black people. You know what I'm saying? Not motherfucking Puerto Ricans. Not Russians. You know what I'm saying? Native Mexicans and Americans. So if you was to do that, you're gonna deport, you're gonna send everybody back. Like, and this brought me back to colonization, back in the 1800s, mid to late 1800s, and so on, where you had mother freaking all these people, Abraham Lincoln and all these people getting involved with the idea of colonization, which, for those who don't know what that is, it's gathering all the motherfucking black people, all the African Americans that were brought to America to work on their plantations throughout slavery. You know, they said, you know what, these people are trying to fight and push to get equality, you know, to get rights on the same level as ours. Before we allow that, you know, there's nothing that they can do. Black people are ignorant, they're lazy, they don't know how to take care of themselves. We done everything for them, even though they mother freaking was feeding them, their kids, breastfeeding their children, mother freaking cleaning their house, but they can't do nothing for themselves. They doing all this other stuff for white people, but they can't do it for themselves. So they said, black people can't take care of themselves. You know what I'm saying? So why leave them here in America to intermix with us to get the same? We're not on the same level. So let's send them back to Africa. Do you know that money, millions of dollars, were funded from the US of A and put into a mother freaking, I want to say it was a city within Africa. They purchased this land in Africa that they planned on sending all the black people back, that they, you know, when they came across this colonization idea, they purchased land, had the land purchased already. They just had to, you know, to pretty much finalize it, get everybody on board. Hey, let's all send them back, you know, let's get this stuff situated. I'm telling you, they had it set up. Look into it. That's the problem with society nowadays. Y'all don't know nothing unless it's in a video. I could sit here and put anything in a video. It could be some unfactual stuff, just full-blown opinion. And you know what? I'll have a bunch of people hopping on my bandwagon because they think it's factual, because people, for some reason, want to refrain from reading. Y'all need to read. Knowledge is there's power in knowledge, and knowledge is in reading. You're not going to get the information you need without reading. You guys, look it up. Look it up. The colonization in the mid to late 1800s that white America decided to put together the land that they decided to purchase in Africa to send all the motherfucking slaves back because they didn't want nothing to do with us here. After they got what they wanted out of us, now it's ready to send us back. And that's exactly what I feel like is going on right now in this time. You know, they done utilize the Mexican race to do all the jobs that don't nobody else want to get, that don't nobody else want to do. They gave them that shoddy pay, that trashy pay, because nobody else want to work for that terribly low price. You know what I'm saying? Now that they done exhausted everything that they wanted out of the Mexicans, now they're like, let's get rid of them. Not just them. Don't stop with them. Let's go to the Muslims too, because now we want to throw in this term called mother freaking terrorism, even though, if I'm not mistaken, the last, terrorist activity that has been brought against the US of A by anything other than white hasn't been done in years. You know what I'm saying? Mother freaking years. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you got 9/11. That wasn't white people. Then you got that guy. What year was that? I want to say it was after 2001, because it was right before they started changing out all those little security scanning devices for the planes, because I remember a Muslim extremist had they call him the underwear bomber, if you're familiar with the underwear bomber, but other than that, I mean, just look at history. All these most recent terrorist activities has been caused by white people. You know what I'm saying? The shoot up in Las Vegas, old white man. The mother freaking, just recently when they was delivering bombs to democratic individuals, and then mother freaking what the freak was it? They shot up I want to say it was a Jewish church or something. I remember for sure that the guy, this one, and he's white, this guy tried to come up in a all black church, was not allowed to, he was prevented from coming up in the church, and he went into the nearest, I want to say like convenience store or something. He went into like the nearest, business facility, and he shot and killed 2 black older people. You know what I'm saying? But if you look into history, the guy way back when, the guy who shot up the churches years ago, white. The guy who mother freaking blew up what the freak was it, the building called? I'm gonna say it was like the late 90s, early 2000s. I can see his face, but I'm drawing blanks on his name. But it's like they quick to, they're like, oh, let's remove Muslims because they come over here with their terrorist ways. And then, I mean, maybe I've been living on an island somewhere and I just haven't really paid attention to the fact. But am I missing something? Like, did y'all come across a terrorist act that was brought out by a Muslim or a Mexican recently? Because last time I checked, you got a bunch of motherfucking white people involved, white males involved in domestic terrorism. Then you got this dude, the same guy who killed the older black people. This dude, when he got involved with the police, it was said by a witness that it was heard that this person stated whites don't kill whites. But then Trump can, days later after this happened, push this bull crap about him, you know, pushing executive orders to undo birthright citizenship. Like, that just makes no sense. None at all. None at all. So, yeah, I think it's bull crap. You know, that's just my opinion. I think it's a voting tactic to get people out, you know, to vote Republican. Because, I mean, if you look at the demographics of, you know, like voting and stuff, and you'll see that there's always a certain type of people that's always voting, you know. And things get different when you eliminate it versus, or when you look at it from who votes primaries to who votes in the general elections. Like, and you know, it's to me, it's just a tactic to get us to talking and stuff, and to build hate and get people to vote out of emotions, you know, and negative emotions at that, in a couple of days. Because what, voting is in less than 10 days or so. So I don't know. You guys, let me know what y'all think in the comments, the opinions and everything. Make sure you like, you know, share, subscribe. If you subscribe, feel free to touch that notification button, so that way you're notified every time, you know, I upload a video, you know. But you guys be blessed. Stay prayed up, because we definitely need prayer in this trying time. And I don't like Trump. Like I said earlier, I don't like Trump. But at the end of the day, I'm a Christian, and my Bible says to pray for my leaders, those that are in authority roles. And I can't stand Trump, but I will definitely pray for him, because he is our leader, and we need God to step in, because we don't need no more division. You know what I'm saying? Things are already as bad as I feel like they can get. You know, it doesn't need to get any worse. So y'all stay prayed up. Be blessed. I love y'all. Deuces.